Welcome to another edition of the Hot Rock Podcast. Steve Garland here, and on this edition, my guest is a world-class musician and keyboardist who has performed for years with Etta James, Tower of Power, Santana, and recorded in the studio with some of the biggest names in music. And now, he's got a new album, The Fantasy Vocal Sessions, Volume 3, right up my alley, Blues and Ballads. David K. Mathews, hey, thanks for coming on the show, man, to talk about this project.
Happy to be here, Steve. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. This new album, Volume 3, Blues and Ballads, has some really amazing performances, and it features a lot of your lifelong musical friends from the Bay Area. Can you just give us a quick rundown of who's on the album with you and your friends that you've worked with for a long time? They're not famous, but they should be, because they are awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to start with, well, he's no longer with us, the late Mike Finnegan. Mike was a dear friend of mine, and he'd been in the music business for a long time. He's a singer and a Hammond B3 player, known for playing with, he played on Electric Ladyland with Jimi Hendrix. We worked together with Etta James. He was based in L.A., and he played with Etta before I joined the band. I first played with Etta in 1988. Finnegan and Jimmy Pugh, another great organ player, a friend of mine who, with the Robert Cray Band forever, they did some gigs with Etta together, and then I did the gig myself for about 8 or 9 years, and then Mike kind of came back on the scene, and so we started doing the gig together, and we did the gig with Etta for about 7 out of my 20 years. Mike was he was kind of the king of L.A. He's a L.A. rock session guy who he played with Crosby, Stills, Nash, like 30 years, Don Henley, Joe Walsh, just a who's who of, kind of the L.A. rock scene. He did NFL jingles, and he's just a great blue-eyed soul singer. Mike passed away a couple of years ago from cancer. And he sort of volunteered to be on my project. This is the third volume of a probably a 4 CD series, just kind of showcasing the people that I've kind of came up with in the business that I love playing with, and styles of music that I really enjoy playing. Some other people that are on this record, another one of the great singers is Tony Lindsay. Mm-hmm. He's probably most well known. He works around the Bay Area a lot, but he's probably most well known for having been Santana's lead vocalist for probably 26, 27 years. But Tony's great, and he's on a couple cuts on this record, and we do gigs from time to time, and he's a friend. And then we got also my buddy Chris Kane, who's been around the blues scene for quite a while. Now he's an Alligator Records recording artist. He got a deal finally, and I think he's working on his second album right now. Chris has been around the Bay Area for a long time. We like to call him San Jose's favorite son. He's been sort of actually maybe Tommy Castro might be San Jose's favorite son, but Chris has been sort of a kind of a undersung underground legend. Musicians in the know in the Bay Area know how great he is. They know what a great guitar player he is, but they don't necessarily know that Chris is kind of a multifaceted genius. He's a good songwriter, he's a good singer, he's a wonderful piano player. He plays great piano, and on this record, while he's playing guitar in a couple tunes, I got him to play piano on one song. I think he played on Ray Charles' Hard Times. He played piano and I played organ, and he sang that. Chris is wonderful. We all love him, and his career has been sort of unjustly, kind of on the back burner. He's struggled for a long time, but things are finally kind of breaking his way over the last few years, and he's getting wider recognition that he deserves, because he's certainly beloved in the blues community. Also, Chris is also, his main influences are obviously B.B. King and Albert King, but he's also got a very credible Albert Collins bag, got way deep into the Mike Bloomfield. He can do he's got a lot of good T-Bone Walker stuff that he can do. And he also can play like a jazz fusion guitar like Robin Ford and Larry Carlton. And he also has got a pretty darn good Pat Martino, Grant Green kind of thing going on. He's a genius. We love him.
Well, I know there's more band members to talk about, but I want to feature the first track off of this album. Tell me about this one, Further Up the Road, featuring Mike Finnegan on the Hammond B3 and the vocals.
I had recorded most of these tracks already at Fantasy Studios in 2015. I'd been with Santana since 2010. Mike was in the Bay Area. I think he was playing with Bonnie Raitt. was he? I know at that time he was working. He'd been working with Taj Mahal and the Phantom Blues Band. He came through the Bay Area and it's like, hey, I'm around. If I'd love to do a couple tunes with your project, and I do a combination of like, there's some songs that I like that I want to play, but then I would ask all the singers and artists, give me a list of a couple ballads, a couple up-tempo tunes that you'd like to do, and let me see if I see anything on there that I would enjoy playing, and we'll kind of have a meeting of the minds. And in Mike's case, he wanted to sing "Drown in My Own Tears," the Ray Charles ballads. It's a slow 8-bar blues with a bridge. He's the one who suggested "Drown in My Own Tears" and "Further Up the Road," because we all love Bobby Bland, which brings me to the fact that that's my buddy on guitar on "Further Up the Road," Bobby Murray, who also played in the Roots band with Mike and I, with Etta. Bobby Murray actually played with Etta even longer than I did. And by the way, everything was done with no rehearsal. I wrote charts for anybody that needed them, but everything on this album, we just went in and literally did one take.
Find out, just wait and see.
It's the Hot Rock Podcast. That's called Further Up the Road, the opening track from the brand new album called The Fantasy Vocal Sessions, Volume 3, Blues and Ballads, from David K. Mathews and a lot of talented friends. And I got to tell you, Dave, the ability for you and these musicians to switch modalities from blues to jazz to, well, Latin rock, with you being in Santana, that's an amazing skill.
You know, that's kind of how I got the Santana gig. I mean, Santana is definitely a different kind of music than Etta James, or Tower Power for that matter, or Boss Skaggs for that matter, or whatever. But you know, I like a lot of different kinds of music, and this record series actually reflects that. You know, I'm sort of known as the Swiss Army knife keyboard player of the Bay Area. I can pretty much do all the different styles. Who else do we have?
Oh, we have, there's one that you missed, and
we got Lady Bianca.
Yep, and
we got Glenn Walters
too.
Glenn is a dear friend of mine I've known Glenn since probably
the Hoodoo days?
Since the Hoodoos, 1979. 1980. I first became aware of him probably around 79, and I probably played with him for the first time around 81. I've known Glenn forever, and he's kind of known more. He's a little bit like Finnegan in the sense that he was known as a blue-eyed soul and R&B singer. Glenn's from the Midwest, like Mike was. Mike was from Wichita, I believe, and Glenn, not Kansas City, but out that way. And he grew up playing drums, being a singing drummer. His mother was an organist and pianist. She just passed away, by the way, at the age of 107.
Wow.
And she was literally still playing the piano. His dad was a tenor saxophonist, and his mom played piano and organ, and he would accompany his parents. And we're talking the early mid-60s. And so Glenn learned a lot of standards, and Glenn's actually a very good jazz singer. And I think that one of the things he sings on this album, he sings one of the ballads. He sings Come Rain, Come Shine, which I think you could consider kind of a blues ballad. I mean, it was written by Harold Arlen and with lyrics by Johnny Mercer. But it's a tune that Ray Charles has recorded, and our version's kind of informed by Ray's version. And Chris has kind of some B.B. King style sort of guitar fills and a solo on that. And that brings me to one of the last people. That's Lady Bianca. Her name is Bianca Thornton. She's a legendary Bay Area blues singer, everything kind of singer. She's based in Oakland. She's been around as well. I mean, I've known her. I first started playing with her in the early 80s again. In her early years, she sang with Sly. She's kind of a phenomenon. I'm assuming she came out of church because her music's very gospel informed, and she plays piano and is a songwriter. And the song that we're doing on this album is a song that she and her late husband, wrote. And she plays piano on it, called "Oh My Love." And Bianca's great. She was with Sly. She was with Frank Zappa. She was, I think, the original singer in John Hendricks' Birth of the Blues. That was in the early 80s in San Francisco on Broadway. Bianca's amazing. Tony's amazing. Mike is amazing. You know, I really miss Mike. You know, he was a good friend. We had a lot of fun playing with Etta. We would sit on the same. We wouldn't even have separate seats. You know, he'd play the B3. We'd sit on the same organ bench together. I'd play piano. We'd crack jokes and you know, kind of have a little running commentary going sometimes during the gigs. And we both loved Etta, and you know, it was a great experience for us. She would have him. She'd cut him loose and let him sing a couple tunes during the show. That was always a lot of fun.
Wow.
Yeah, he'd go toe to toe with her, and they'd sing the blues or something, and he'd go toe to toe with her. And he's one of the few people I know that had the power that could do that, because Etta's an incredibly powerful vocalist with a very loud and powerful voice, and he could handle it. You know, Mike was great. I
was looking up online to learn more about your side projects, and I read about the Ray Charles project.
Yeah. That's just a thing that all kind of came together about 10 years ago, maybe 11 or 12 years ago. It was probably around 2010, 2011. At that time, Chris was really struggling. He was really struggling. He didn't have a lot of gigs. We said, well, look, let's get together with some guys and let's just play some, Chris loves Ray. We love Ray. let's get together and just do a couple gigs. So we booked a couple gigs at Yoshi's in Oakland. And the original version of the Ray Charles Project was Chris on guitar and on piano and on saxophone. Tony Lindsay on vocals, Glenn on vocals, myself, Dwayne on bass, and then Kevin Hayes was the original drummer. Kevin Hayes, who was, I think, still playing with the Robert Cray Band at that time. He did about 25 years with Robert Cray. Once again, we just kind of threw a bunch of names of tunes into with Ray playing piano. And God, I tell you, man, Chris can play piano more like Ray Charles than anybody I've ever heard. I mean, he's really got the feel. But on this album, 4 or 5 of the tunes, they're part of the Ray Charles Project repertoire.
And I do have a favorite. I have a favorite.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
I've Got a Woman.
Oh, yeah. You know, I love that tune, too. Wayne and I had played that with Glenn a lot over the years. And so that was a natural for us to start doing with the Ray Charles Project because it's just something we all knew. And Chris, you know, fit right in on that. I mean, it's so funny when I listen to his solo on guitar on this. He starts out on the guitar, his guitar solo, he starts out with the opening lines from David Fathead Newman's tenor sax solo, and that's a great tune. I like it because it was basically a gospel kind of shout type tune that Ray put secular lyrics to, like a bunch of other things. He brought gospel and blues and jazz and country music all together.
Sometimes I get just a little worried, but I want you all to know that it's all right. Yeah. Because I got a woman way over town. She's good to me, oh, good to me now. And I got a woman way over town. She's good to me, oh, yeah. She give me money when I'm in need. Oh, she's a kind of a friend indeed. Said I got a woman way over town. She's good to me, oh, good to me now. She says her loving early in the morning, just for me, yeah, just for me now. Says her loving early in the morning, just for me, oh, yeah. Same old loving just for me. Then she give it to me so tenderly now. Said I got a woman way over town. She's good to me, yeah, good to me now, yeah. Give me loving both day and night. Never grumbles or fuzzes, always treats me right. Never running in the streets and leaving me alone. She knows the place I am. She's right there in her home. I got a woman way over town. She's good to me, oh, good to me now. And I got a woman way
It's the Hot Rock Podcast. I've got David K. Mathews, who is talking about his new album, The Fantasy Vocal Sessions, Volume 3, Blues and Ballads, where you've brought together a lot of great Bay Area musicians. And this next track I'm going to feature is because it is so damn funky. And I think you know which one I mean. Iceman.
Yeah.
I can't help but listen to that and think about your time as a keyboardist with Tower of Power. How old were you when you got that gig?
I was 23, and I was in a little. I was a funk player. I'd been playing funk for a while, and I'd been playing blues for a while, and I'd been playing some Latin for a while. So it was a good fit in that regard. But I mean, I was the youngest guy with those guys. They were all in their early to mid 30s then. But I knew some of the guys in the band. I'd worked with some of them in other groups. And, I was in a little bit over my head. I mean, I wasn't a jazz organist yet by then, and I hadn't played a lot of jazz. And certainly Chester Thompson, who I ended up taking over for him with TOP for a couple of years while he ended up joining Santana. CT is like one of the best jazz organists on the planet. He's an icon to all of us in the Bay Area. He's super funky, great jazz player. I think that track actually is something that my friend Dwayne Pate, the bass player, did for a solo album of his, but it's got all of us on it. It's got Tony Lindsay, it's got myself, it's got Dwayne, it's got Chris Kane on it, it's got our buddy Norbert Stachel, who also played with Tower, and the drummer Brian Collier, who he plays with Confunction. And so it's really a Bay Area kind of a thing. We all, I played with Tower, Norbert had played with Tower. Tony Lindsay is actually on the Tower of Power 50th anniversary concerts at the Fox Theater
in Oakland. That's right. That's
a concert DVD that came out a couple of years ago. I was at the concert, and Tony was actually a part of the band. He was singing background, which is, he's a session and studio guy as well as a, get out front guy. And so there's a lot of ties there between us all, and we all love East Bay funk, and Tower is the epitome of that music. And yeah, that's a funky track right there, I'll tell you.
Up some fire with my ice. Yes, I'm gonna play this old guitar. Light your fire with my ice. Sometimes it sounds so good to me, I might just wanna play it twice.
It's the Hot Rock Podcast. I've got David K. Mathews, who is talking about his new album, The Fantasy Vocal Sessions, Volume 3, Blues and Ballads, where you've brought together a lot of great Bay Area musicians. And this next track I'm going to feature is because it is so damn funky. And I think you know which one I mean. Iceman.
Yeah.
I can't help but listen to that and think about your time as a keyboardist with Tower of Power. How old were you when you got that gig?
I was 23, and I was in a little. I was a funk player. I'd been playing funk for a while, and I'd been playing blues for a while, and I'd been playing some Latin for a while. So it was a good fit in that regard. But I mean, I was the youngest guy with those guys. They were all in their early to mid 30s then. But I knew some of the guys in the band. I'd worked with some of them in other groups. And, I was in a little bit over my head. I mean, I wasn't a jazz organist yet by then, and I hadn't played a lot of jazz. And certainly Chester Thompson, who I ended up taking over for him with TOP for a couple of years while he ended up joining Santana. CT is like one of the best jazz organists on the planet. He's an icon to all of us in the Bay Area. He's super funky, great jazz player. I think that track actually is something that my friend Dwayne Pate, the bass player, did for a solo album of his, but it's got all of us on it. It's got Tony Lindsay, it's got myself, it's got Dwayne, it's got Chris Kane on it, it's got our buddy Norbert Stachel, who also played with Tower, and the drummer Brian Collier, who he plays with Confunction. And so it's really a Bay Area kind of a thing. We all, I played with Tower, Norbert had played with Tower. Tony Lindsay is actually on the Tower of Power 50th anniversary concerts at the Fox Theater
in Oakland. That's right. That's
a concert DVD that came out a couple of years ago. I was at the concert, and Tony was actually a part of the band. He was singing background, which is, he's a session and studio guy as well as a, get out front guy. And so there's a lot of ties there between us all, and we all love East Bay funk, and Tower is the epitome of that music. And that's a funky track right there, I'll tell you.
It sure is. I had Emilio on the show about 6 weeks ago, and we talked about the 50th anniversary. It's hard to believe they're on 51 now, or 52.
I think maybe 52 or 53.
Right,
yeah.
and they're still going strong. He was getting ready to fly out to go to Florida. I think he and Doc are pretty much replacing the phrase that used to be for James Brown, the hardest working man in show business today.
Oh my God. Yeah. Those guys are still doing it. I mean, I think Mimi's a little younger than Doc and David Garibaldi. I mean, Dave, he's probably in the best shape of anybody in that band. I think Dave is 76, and, he takes real good care of himself. We're like a big musical family here in the Bay Area. I love everybody. I love the diversity of the musical scene in the Bay Area. I grew up there. That's kind of like my album series sort of reflects that, because, the volume 1 was jazz standards. Volume 2 was soul, R&B, and pop. And then now Volume 3 is blues and ballads. And then Volume 4 is going to be Afro-Cuban and Brazilian music. I already have some tracks. I have about 4 or 5 things that I cut in Vegas a couple of years ago, actually about 3 years ago, that have some members of the Santana band. And I'd like to even get Carlos on a couple of these things at some point. And I talked to him, I mentioned it to him a while back, and he expressed an interest in doing that. Get him to put some guitar on a couple things. I got some Afro-Cuban stuff. I got a Eddie Palmieri tune and a Santana tune, actually.
Eddie Palmieri, you can't beat that kind of rhythm. You know? I mean, I talked to Carabello about 3 or 4 months ago doing these different interviews around Team Santana, and he mentioned him obviously as one of his big influences.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Carl did too.
I hope to get the Escovedos. I'll probably get the Escovedos on this project because I came up with them at the same time I was playing at Larry Blake's with Tim Kahatsu and the Rathskeller band. I was playing with Pete and Sheila and Ray Oviedo, and who is the associate producer of this entire series of mine. He mixed all 3 records, and he's going to mix the next one. And he played some guitar on Volume 2, and actually he's on. I think he's on Iceman. That
yes, he is.
He's playing some funky rhythm guitar on that. So yeah, it's like we're all this big family, and I have eclectic musical taste, and I'm trying to represent everybody that I have been influenced by and nurtured by in the fertile Bay Area music scene. And it's Volume 4. I hope to do some Afro. Well, I'm going to do some more Afro-Cuban music with some of the luminaries of the Bay Area, Latin jazz scene, and also some of the folks in the Brazilian scene there. And I hope to get Claudia Valela on some things. I hope to get my friend Mark van Wageningen, who is now currently the bass player for Tower of Power. Dwayne Pate is on bass on most of that record, and Mark is on a couple things. Yeah, it's a family affair. I'm going to get Mark on some of the Brazilian stuff because he plays that stuff really well.
Oh, yeah. And all you have to do is go down to the Mission.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to put some of that out on the next volume. My first one came out in 2017. It's 2023 now. I seem to be able to get them out about every two and a half years. So got one more to go, and then hopefully I'll be around, for all that. So I'm crossing my fingers.
Well, you do a lot of juggling. I mean, you've got a lot of tour dates with Santana. You're going back to Las Vegas next month, I think.
Yeah, I'm leaving this Sunday, actually.
Yeah. So,
and we're closing out the year. We're closing out the year. That's the end of our year, and then we're starting up again in late January.
Nice. Now, talking with Benny a couple of months ago, he said that you guys occasionally, especially while you're there in Vegas, I believe he said, will record some tracks, and you never quite know what's going to happen with them or where they're going to go. But he said that the last time around, I guess it was earlier this year, you were back in the studio recording some stuff. Is there any kind of a teaser you can give us on what's going on with that?
I have no idea. We've recorded a bunch of things. Carlos he wants to go in and he hears something that he likes. It might be some Afrobeat thing or some pop tune, and we'll go in and kind of do a version of it. And then he's got a lot of stuff. I've done a lot of things for him in the last. Even during COVID, we got into the studio in San Rafael and did some stuff. Some of that stuff ended up coming out on the last Santana album, and there's a lot of things that we did. There's some like real eclectic stuff, like some Yusef Lateef. Oh man, it's just like some Afrobeat things and just some Gabor Szabo ballads. Just a bunch of different stuff that we learn it. We learn the stuff. We go in and we knock it out, and then it kind of disappears. And I would imagine at some point some of it will float back to the surface and end up being released on something. If only the Santana demo tracks. I have no idea. What I can tell you is that for my Volume 4. Back in 2019, just prior to COVID, I went into a studio in Vegas because now Fantasy is closed. I recorded about 5 things with Benny on bass, with Pepe Jimenez, who was our drummer with Santana before Cindy. He was there for a couple years after Dennis Chambers left. Pepe's a wonderful drummer. He's from Puerto Rico originally. He's got the Afro-Cuban drum set thing down. So, Benny and Pepe, and then Carl Perazzo on timbales and Paoli Mejia on congas. That's the current and long-time Santana rhythm section there. So we did about 3 quick percussion descargas, and like I said, a Santana song, one of my favorite Santana songs from the 70s, and then an Eddie Palmieri tune. So I'm going to add to that stuff. Now that this volume's out, I'm setting my sights on that. I'm going to add to the Afro-Cuban tracks. I've got some favorite songs that I want to do. And of course, it's because it's a vocal session. There's going to be vocals on pretty much everything. And I'm also going to get some Brazilian things, with my favorite composers. There'll be a lot of Tom Jobim on there, and I'll probably do some arranging for string quartet and strings. Yeah, it's just eclectic. That's my whole eclectic thing. And once again, I'm going to get my favorite people on there and try to put them out there with me, because it's kind of my dream projects. I get to play with my favorite people, get to play my favorite songs, and I get to hear them sing stuff and play stuff that they really like. So for me, it's a real joy,
Yeah. And for me, being a Bay Area kid, I was raised in the East Bay and grew up in the 70s and the 80s and was there until the early 2000s. So I was lucky enough to be there as one of the 14-year-olds sneaking into the Fillmore in Winterland to see the original incarnation of Santana, the Doobies, and all those bands. Just like everybody else, I was in my garage with inferior but very excitable teenage musicians. Working.
Me too.
Yeah, working on our stuff, playing in Berkeley and all around the East Bay, and learning the craft, being Latin as well, going into the Mission in San Francisco, and just trying to soak up as much of it as you can. And to be able to hear some of this reflected back in the variety of what you're doing, I got to tell you, it sounds great, and I'm looking forward to more. The album, once again, is the Fantasy Vocal Sessions Volume 3, Blues and Ballads. We got enough time, Dave, for one more track, and I'd like it to be, if it's okay with you, Let the Good Times Roll.
Oh, absolutely. Bon temps roulé.
Awesome. Well, listen, Dave, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. The album is out now, digital or CD, wherever you get your digital music. You can order it off Amazon. It's pretty much available anywhere. And of course, you'll be on stage in Las Vegas with Santana
next Wednesday night.
Next Wednesday night. Get your tickets now, man.
All right. Take care, Steve. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Great.
2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's have some fun. Only live but once, and when you're dead, you're done. So let the good times roll. I'm talking about the good times. I don't care if you're young or old. Ought to get together and let the good times roll.
Hey, bartender, why don't you lock the door? When the police come, we'll tell them the joint is closed. Let the good times roll. Yeah, let the good times roll. I don't care if you're young or old. Gotta get together, let the good times roll.
Now don't sit there mumbling, talking trash. Wanna have a ball? You gotta go in your pocket and spend some cash and let the good times roll. I'm talking about the good times. I don't care if you're young or old. Ought to get together and let the good times roll. Oh yeah.
house projects in town. Got $1 and a quarter and I'm railing the clown.
But don't let no female play us cheap. We got 50 cents more than we're gonna keep. So let the good times roll. I'm talking about the good times. I don't care if you're young or old. Ought to get together and let the good times roll.
Well, it don't matter whether it's rainy weather. Birds of a feather gotta stick together.
Gotta get together. Let the good times roll.
The Hot Rock Podcast wrapping things up with one more blues track from this great new album called The Fantasy Vocal Sessions, Volume 3, Blues and Ballads. It's out and available now. Produced and performed by David K. Mathews and a lot of great, incredibly talented Bay Area musicians. I want to thank David for coming on the show and, because he is in Santana. And probably this week as we speak, they will be in Las Vegas again. Let's finish up with a live track from Santana featuring David on keyboards and this classic song, Oye Como Va. That's it for the Hot Rock Podcast. If you missed any of this show, you can always go to our website and listen to the entire thing on demand for free at hotrockpodcast.com. I'm Steve Garland. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.